Good morning. Just let me adjust my camera a bit. There we go. So today's lesson 49, and it's and we're still talking about God, so that's something to really keep in mind, because it can build up resistance. It can put us in a place of being closed to the lesson, to whatever it's telling us. So just a reminder from me to keep with it, to not get too caught up in the religious aspect of God, and really seeing God more as the loving presence that we are. So, lesson 49, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. So a lot of people, I know, well, maybe not a lot of people, but I know some people, when they are going through their day and they happen to hit a rough spot, something happens that triggers them and they don't know exactly how to deal with a situation, that they actually, they just ask themselves, what would Jesus do? And I think this lesson today is going to be something like that. And, you know, you don't have to be a believer in Jesus or even God to really use that as a sort of guide throughout your day. As far as behaving in a way that is loving. Like, instead of saying, what would Jesus do? You could even say, what would love do? What would love do in this situation? What would the loving expression be in this situation? I think that's a really good guiding force behind how to live each day and how to keep us in that place of peace and contentment and love and, you know, all the things that we really want. So, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. It is quite possible to listen to God's voice all through the day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God, whether you are aware of it or not. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws. It is this part that is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. So, in this particular case, we're talking about, there's two parts of the mind. There's the part of the mind that has vision and knowledge and the knowing that comes from a very deep place and comes with a sense of peace. And then there's the part of the mind that is often called the ego, or the monkey mind, or whatever you want to call it, that is wrought with chaos and distractedness and all those other things, vengeance and whatever you want to talk about, that doesn't feel good, is that other part of the mind. And what it's talking about is that loving presence, which comes from peace, and the ego, which comes from chaos. So that's just something to keep in mind. The part that is listening to the voice for God is calm, always at rest, and wholly certain. It is really the only part there is. The other part is a wild illusion, frantic and distraught, but without reality of any kind. Try today not to listen to it. Try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever. Try to hear God's voice call to you lovingly, reminding you that your Creator has not forgotten His Son. So there's that moment of choice in any situation or with any person. There's that moment of choice where we decide which mind we're going to follow. Are we going to follow the voice of God, which is for truth and love and peace, or are we going to go into that chaos of the ego? We will need at least 4 or 5 minute practice periods today, and more if possible. We will try actually to hear God's voice reminding you of Him and of yourself. We will approach this happiest and holiest of thoughts with confidence, knowing that in doing so we are joining our will with the will of God. He wants you to hear his voice. He gave it to you to be heard. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Go past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts and sights and sounds of this insane world. You do not live here. We are trying to reach your real home. We are trying to reach the place where you are truly welcome. We are trying to reach God. That place where we're truly welcome. It's really interesting because I think when we sit in that place and when we recognize that place where we're truly welcome, we actually are more welcoming to other people, more inclusive of other people, more willing to see that voice of God or hear that voice of God from other people as well. And I think it's really interesting to note that the voice of God is not always one that seems like peace. The voice of God can be that other person who's triggering you, that other person that's saying something that hits on a nerve with you and aggravates you. That is also the voice of God saying, can you love me when I'm like this? Can you love me when I am triggering you? Can you love yourself, that part of yourself that believes that comment or that situation or whatever it is? So it's really important to recognize that, I think. Do not forget to repeat today's idea very frequently. Do so with your eyes open when necessary, but closed when possible. And be sure to sit quietly and repeat the idea for today whenever you can, closing your eyes on the world and realizing that you are inviting God's voice to speak to you. Those crazy thoughts that just keep coming in. And, it's really interesting because I think the moment at which you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to go into meditation now. I'm going to seek that stillness. I'm going to find that quiet voice of God in me. And it's at that very moment that the ego just goes berserk and starts, throwing thoughts at you willy-nilly, anything that can come in. And I remember a couple of years ago, there was an ad on the radio, and it was, I can't even remember what it was for, but it was just someone who was vocalizing all the thoughts that were running through the person's head at that particular time. Did I make the kids lunches? Did they forget them in the car? Did I turn the dishwasher on? Have I picked up did I make the bed this morning? Did I remember to bring my purse? Have I, just all those things that when you sit in the stillness will start pounding you. And if we can just allow those to flow as a steady stream without grasping onto them, without attaching ourselves to them, without getting caught up in them, that's the place where we want to find. It's being able to be the eye in the middle of the storm where everything is chaos around us, but we're sitting in this place of peace. And I think that's kind of what the lesson today is about. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. So sit with that one. I think it's going to really be a good one. So have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for lesson 50. Wow, that's 50. We've come a long way. So have a great day, everyone. Bye for now.